1 Corinthians 10:21. Ye cannot drink the cup of the Lord and the cup of devils. Ye cannot be partakers of the Lord's table and of the table of devils. When it comes to Halloween, it is especially important for you as a parent to understand how demonic Halloween truly is. It is an occult holiday where the demons are manifesting right before your very eyes. As you dress up your children in aims of having a great wholesome family time, you do not realize that you're partaking of something so demonic and so evil that can harm your children, that can bring forth a lot of demonic activity in your home, open yourself up for sleep paralysis and many more things. And we live in this type of a society where in horror films nowadays you consistently see them getting more and more and more demonic. I grew up in the era of Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, and I used to love all of those films. When I wasn't a believer in Christ. But as you've noticed in many Hollywood films, the films have gone from that extreme to now the more demonic. It is the aim of Satan to slowly desensitize you to witchcraft, to slowly desensitize you to the occult. This is why the scriptures tell you, 2 Corinthians 11:14, and no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. It has been a slow indoctrination into the occult. In Halloween, it is especially extremely evil. Many witches believe this is their new year. Many witches during this day are performing rituals, sacrifices, and many more occult things. But the devil has tricked many churches, forgetting 3 John 11. Beloved, follow not that which is evil, but that which is good. He that doeth good is of God, but he that doeth evil has not seen God. And you cannot mix the holy and the profane just because your child is interested in doing Halloween. And if you can teach your child from a very early age the wickedness of Halloween, you train your child up in the way that he or she should go, because that is your responsibility as a parent. The topic of trick or treat. Study the origins of Halloween. When you study the origins of Halloween, you can take him all the way back to the Tower of Babel with Nimrod and Semiramis. I made a very detailed video on this last year, and I'll put a link on the screen for that video. But here's a slide from last year that I discussed. The Horned God. In some Wiccan traditions by Simon, the goddess has entered into her incarnation of crone. This is the goddess that rises up in Easter, Ishtar, the queen of heaven, which God prohibits you from worshiping. But in this point in time during this year, Wiccan traditions, some of them tell you that she is entering into her incarnation of crone. She is the old one, the earth mother, the wise one we turn to when we need advice according to Wiccans. According to Wiccans, she teaches us that we must let go in order to move on. So at this particular time of the year, during Halloween, the god at Semen is the Horned One, the stag of great antlers, the god of the wild hunt. He is the animal that dies so that we may eat, and the grains and corn that once lived in the field before our harvest. They worship the god of the wild hunt, a god that has antlers. This is typical of Babylonian traditions. This is typical of Baal worship, for them to worship horned gods. And he is the god of the wild hunt. And Nimrod was a mighty hunter. Brothers and sisters in the Lord, Halloween, yes, we can trace him back to the Druids, but it even goes even further than that. It is very demonic to the core.
How did these ancient traditions survive into our modern era? In Western culture, they were preserved by, of all people, Christians. In a bizarre twist of history, as Christianity spread, it adopted and reimagined pagan folkways rather than try to stamp them out. This made it easier to convert pagans. A key pagan festival destined to get a Christian makeover was Lemuria, when celebrants placated the dead, culminating on May 13th.
Of all the different days that they have in the Roman calendar to celebrate the dead, it was the spookiest. So on the Lemuria, what are called the larvae, the ghosts of the departed, would come up and haunt people.
To quell the dead, pagan Romans poured milk onto their graves or offered them little cakes. But the church co-opted Lemuria in 609 AD, turning May 13th into All Saints' Day, a day to honor the most holy of dead Christians.
Setting aside this day was an attempt to Christianize this very pagan festival, and yet at the same time what it did was it kept a lot of the same themes going.
The Christianized version of Lemuria was such a success that church leaders made a decision that eventually gave rise to Halloween. They moved All Saints, or Hallows Day, to November 1st to drain the life out of pagan Samhain. Because Samhain fell on the night of October 31st, before All Hallows Day on November 1st, people started calling Samhain All Hallows Evening, the evening before All Hallows Day. This shortened into All Hallows Even, and finally into Halloween. And then, to be safe, the church went one step further, adding a holiday to honor not just saints, but everyday Christians. November 2nd became All Souls Day, a church-sanctioned holiday to honor the departed.
When you send your child trick-or-treating, the point of trick-or-treating to the Druids and other traditions, they believed that during this day, that evil spirits were roaming the earth. Evil spirits were roaming their towns. It was a time where the weather was very cold. Crops were not growing properly. So they associated that with the dead. So what they did was, in order for them to leave their homes, they dressed up in costumes, in evil masks, in any type of a way to avoid these evil demonic spirits. But it went worse than that. On that day, they would actually leave treats in front of their homes in the forms of vegetables, groceries, and so forth, as sacrifices so that the evil spirits would not harm them. If you look at different traditions, it was even darker than that. Human sacrifices were involved. Witchcraft was involved. Animal sacrifices were involved, all in the name of these demonic spirits. They did not overcome evil with good in the sense of Jesus Christ. They did it with evil. That's how witchcraft works. There are a lot of people that turn to Santeria, which is witchcraft, to combat evil, instead of turning to the true power, which is Jesus Christ. So when someone knocks on your door and they say, trick or treat, think about the words alone. Hey, I'm gonna trick you if you don't give me a treat. That's manipulation, first of all. Aside from that, think of what you're doing when you're giving them candy. You're giving them a sacrifice so that you can ward off those bad spirits. Now, of course, you can say you're taking it to the extreme, Tally. I understand that you may say that, and I realize that, but all I'm showing you is the origins of all of this stuff. I'm not necessarily telling you that you're sacrificing anything. But souling, ghouling, all of these traditions are not of God. The jack-o'-lantern, there are many believers that are watching this that have jack-o'-lanterns in front of their homes. According to the legend, Jack was a man who played a lot of tricks upon people. And long story short, he made a deal with the devil that the devil will not take him to hell. Okay? So when he died, he tried to make it to heaven. And he couldn't make it to heaven. He couldn't go to hell. He couldn't go to heaven. So he was stuck here on earth, roaming the earth. So the devil, as a courtesy to him, tossed him this ember, this light, this orb, if you will, so that Jack can actually light himself into the way. So Jack's favorite meal was a turnip. He took a turnip, carved it out, and put that orb inside the turnip. And he roamed the earth with the turnip, with the orb inside. Thus came the jack-o'-lantern. The reason they did jack-o'-lanterns was to ward off Jack, the evil spirits. And there's other traditions that show you that the jack-o'-lantern is made to bring forth good spirits and ward off bad spirits. So when you carve out a pumpkin, right, because the turnip turned into a pumpkin, and you put a candle inside, what do you think that's representing? Yes, we modernized paganism. We've modernized it and made it okay, right? But you're basically in the spirit realm. You're basically in the spirit realm to these demonic entities. They're saying, look at that person. They believe in the jack-o'-lantern story. You see, all of these rituals, all of these stories turn to evil to get rid of evil. When the reality is that you don't need evil to get rid of evil. You need the power of Jesus Christ. Does the Bible not say in Leviticus 19:31, regarding not them that have familiar spirits, neither seek after wizards to be defiled by them? I am the Lord your God. Does the Bible not say in Micah 5:12, and I will cut off witchcraft out of thine hand, and thou shalt have no more soothsayers? My brothers and my sisters in the Lord, in Ephesians 5:11, and have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them. Reprove them. Okay, so if you want somebody knock on your door, you want to give them a Bible tract, give them a Bible tract. Preach the gospel. Your kids want to participate in it? No, honey. No, we can't do that. No, sweetie. No, we can't do that. But let's have a Bible study. How about that? Oh, but mom, I want to carve a pumpkin. Oh, my mom, I want to... Listen, I know you want to do all that stuff, but all of that is not of God. Train your child up in the way that he or she should go, because these little compromises that you make now, when they get to 15, 16, 17, 18, they're going to get out of hand. And then what you're going to do? Well, mom, you allowed me to do that little witchcraft. What's this witchcraft? Right? Because then they turn to Wicca. And this is not about being extreme in these senses. You have to understand that you also have to protect your children. A lot of the candy that you get from Halloween, you don't know if that's tainted or not. Many kids actually are abducted during Halloween for a lot of satanic purposes. We sometimes do not understand how evil things really are because Satan has modernized things and made it okay and cool. I've had Christians tell me, Tally, I'm not going to do the evil stuff. The evil stuff I'm not going to do. But I'm still going to go to a Halloween party in places full of witches, which are out there loving it. This is their New Year. How do you celebrate New Year's in America? You have parties, fireworks, hugging each other. Wow, it's here. That's how they view it. It's the rise of the horned god. So, may God bless you. I hope this at least warns some of you parents out there before you go trick-or-treating. I love you very much in Jesus Christ. Remember, our website is always there for you. If you have prayer requests, there's a button on there for you to put prayer requests. Thank you for always passing by. Keep my family in prayer. Thank you for your support, for your kindness, for anything that you ever do. Every time you pass by each week, you have no idea how much that means to me. And love you very, very much. Thank you so much for passing by. God bless you.